Hello and welcome to Conversations for NFP Week. I'm your host, Peg Hensler, and I'm the Associate Director for Marriage Ministries and Natural Family Planning, NFP, for the Diocese of Trenton. And today is the last day of our NFP Week conversations. And I think the topic today really is wonderful, and it's about parenting. It's about a frank discussion of what parenthood is all about. And we've been talking about all different topics, and one of the central themes of our topics has been the mother-daughter connection. So today I'm really excited to introduce my guest host, and that is my own daughter, Marian Hensler. So I'm going to have Marian come and join us, and this is in our living room. So Mare, come on and join us, and you can just introduce yourself and say hi and say a couple things maybe about your story with Ian, your wonderful husband, who's just right off camera here with our baby Benny, we will introduce shortly.
Yes, so my name is Marian Hensler Laiks. My husband and I got married in 2017. We met probably about 5 years before that. We were working together. We were both in human resources at a company. And he actually did my new hire orientation, and that's how we met. We became really, really good friends, and then we ended up getting married a few years later. And anything else?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things about Mare and Ian is that they are an interfaith couple. Ian is Jewish, Marian is Catholic, and they're raising their kids in the Catholic tradition, but incorporating many of the beautiful traditions from Ian's faith of Judaism. So that's been a wonderful, enriching experience for our family. So, but that's part of all the adjustments that we make, especially in parenthood, is raising your kids in two faith traditions is wonderful, but it certainly has its challenges. And so we want to, at this point, introduce our little buddy, our little bubby that we call, and that is baby Ben. And he's the second of my grandchildren. He is 2 months old. So Ben, this is your debut. What do you think? You like it?
He's got a little onesie on that says "cutest in the galaxy."
I think he's made for this.
And he's about 9. Actually, he's 9 weeks on Tuesday. So,
yeah.
And then he's got a big sister who really loves him, and she says, "I want to pet the baby," and then she kind of slaps him across the face. So she really loves her brother, so we're trying to teach her to be gentle.
Yeah. So today, when we're talking about this beautiful mother-daughter connection, and how important it is for moms to pass along the wonder of our changing bodies, the wonder of becoming a woman, the wonderful things about becoming a parent. I think that wisdom that you get from your mom or from whatever role model you have for motherhood is really kind of essential. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I want to start with what it's like for you to have been in this Catholic family, kind of the highlights of, maybe the lowlights, the highlights of growing up in this crazy, wonderful Catholic family. So what are kind of a few of the things that are just highlights of your childhood of growing up Catholic?
Well, it was very, very important that we all went to church together every Sunday. And then not only that we went to church together every Sunday, but we also had to be, really, really nicely dressed. And so we always had couples coming up to us and being like, "Your family is the best dressed family at church." So my mom, sometimes I refer to her as Pegs. She always made sure that we were the best dressed family on Sundays at church. And we went to Catholic grade school. We would all walk to school together. It was only a few blocks away. We always had liturgies, and we knew all of the Catholic songs, and we said our prayers when we came into the classroom, and and then it was really all of the different big holidays like Christmas and Easter, and all of those. We really always had a good time, and we always not only did we celebrate the the really Santa and Easter Bunny and things like that, but we also had a solid understanding of some of the the background behind why we celebrate Easter and why we celebrate Christmas. So every holiday was really extra special growing up in this house.
Thank you. And we always talked about making the magic too, and I always think that feeds the sacramental imagination. So I'm very excited about that. So we'll see how long Benny lasts. We have Daddy waiting in the wings to take Benny away from us, but for now he's being pretty good.
He's being a little man.
Yeah. So let's talk about that first adjustment. When you were getting ready for your marriage, you talked about your own vision for your family, and certainly Dad and I did that. Bob and I did that when we were getting ready, and we kind of talked about having 3 kids and what they might look like, and so what were some of those discussions like when you were talking about having kids? Like when you would start to have a family and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we both always knew that we wanted children, and that was really important. And that's part of why we continued to date and be together. When you have to agree on some of the really, really important things, like if he didn't want to have kids, then it wouldn't have, or if I didn't want to have kids, it wouldn't have worked out for us. So we always agreed that that's what we both wanted. I always say that I want 3 kids. He's still not totally sold because we have 2 right now and we just had the second one. And so he's not super thrilled about the idea of 3. But that's always been really important to us. And I think before we got married, we did a Catholic retreat together to talk about our, a lot of the different things that we were going to face when we were married. And so we got to talk about finances. We got to talk about our kids and how we would raise them, knowing that he's Jewish and I'm Catholic, and both of our faith traditions are really important to us. And so that was all
Right.
part of the marital adjustment.
Absolutely. So then along comes Tilly, and you thought it might take you a little bit of time to conceive. And of course, you were extremely blessed because you got your daddy. Here's Benny. You got, see you, Benny. You got to conceive Tilly right away. And so all of a sudden, now you're having a baby. And in fact, my son-in-law Ian will say that when Marian was in labor, and then she said, I think I've changed my mind. And Ian said, no, remember, this is what we planned for. This is what's actually going to happen. You're going to have a baby. And so
yeah, I went into labor and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I can't be a mom. Yeah.
So Ian gave her the talk, and lo and behold, as it turns out, Marian is a total natural. She is wonderful. The nursing was like a breeze for her, and as it is now, and she's a total natural mom. She probably doesn't see it that way, but you totally are. And I'm really, as her mom, I'm in awe of it. I think she teaches me a little bit more than I may teach her, but we certainly have that deep connection. And I had the privilege of being with Marian and Ian the first week of Tilly's life. So I got to bond with her. I got to be with her in the middle of the night. I got to let them have a little bit of sleep. And we still talk about that as being one of the most important times in our own relationship.
Yeah, it was one of the best weeks of our lives.
Yeah.
Was that week, even though it was like the hardest week probably ever. It was like also like the
yeah.
best
So when you realize, this was my experience, and I'm sure it was, when you realize you're responsible for a human being, the life of a human being, the soul of a human being, 24/7 for the rest of your life, that's pretty overwhelming. And so that's kind of what happens is, wow, my life will never be the same. And yet, being a parent, it does change everything, as I've seen on commercials, but it also is the greatest change in the world. And just wait till you become a grandparent. That is really amazing. So along came then, you're planning to maybe have your children 2 years apart. And so you mentioned that maybe you'll start thinking about having a baby. And next thing you know, Marian and Tilly, my granddaughter, and Ian come over, and Tilly's wearing a special t-shirt that says, I'm going to be a big sister. Actually, she says, I have a secret. And then on the back of the t-shirt, it said, I'm going to be a big sister. So of course, we were all screaming and yelling and cheering, and then along came baby Benny. So now we have 2. So Ian and Marian are very fortunate that they have parental leave, and they're home together taking care of their children. And Tilly's at a play group right now, having a wonderful time. But so what's that been like to have this second wonderful, amazing baby? What are some of those adjustments?
Yeah, so I will say the second time around was much easier than the first. Tilly was also like a colicky baby, so that made it a little bit more challenging. But we also knew what to expect. We also had already adjusted our lives to having a child, and so it wasn't like this huge life adjustment anymore. It was just like welcoming another child to the family. I think that the hard part was Tilly had just turned 2 when her brother was born. And so explaining to her, that a baby would be coming home and that she was going to be a big sister. And, still, I think she's just now starting to understand it now that he's 9 weeks. Like now she actually calls him baby Benny, and we say, "Who's your brother?" And she says, "Baby Benny." And so that, it's definitely harder with 2. And trying to keep track of both of them and not being able to maybe have all of that individual attention geared toward Tilly. But it's also been really, really rewarding, and to see their like little relationship. He's always looking at her and kind of watching her, even though he's only 9 weeks, and she just loves him. She wants to hold him constantly. She holds him in the morning. She always says, "I hold his hand, I hold his hand, I hold his hand," and she holds his hand. So she just loves her little brother, and that's like the most rewarding thing for me.
Absolutely. So I just want to wrap up our conversation. I could sit here all day with my beautiful daughter here, but I want to thank you, Mayor, for taking time. I know how crazy and hectic it is, and I'm just so pleased to have you here and to have my beautiful, wonderful son-in-law off camera, but he's here as well.
Beautiful.
My husband's here too, so it's kind of a family affair here today. But just want to talk about that notion of gratitude, just how utterly grateful we are that we have this blessing. And we know couples who unfortunately have had difficulty achieving pregnancy, and that's been so hard. But so, Marian and Ian know how truly blessed they are. They're also very realistic, and they are very realistic about the challenges. So they're going to be open and helpful to others, but they're going to be able to share from their own experience of, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's the hardest job you'll ever have, we like to say.
Definitely the hardest
Job, but it's the greatest job you'll ever have. So we're so grateful for this family. We're so grateful for the support system that hopefully we can provide. Certainly, Mayor and Ian and the babies, when they come, they make our lives so much better, so much more fun. And we live in a small house. This is it. This is our home, and we're all packed together. And it's really one of the great privileges. It's really truly the greatest blessing of our lives, of my husband, Bob, and myself. And so again, we thank you, Mayor. And what we want to do is just let you know that all of these videos and all of the resources for the mother-daughter connection, for couples to learn a class, to take a class in NFP, which we think is a really wonderful thing, because you get to really understand what's happening in our fertile system, right? That knowledge is power. All of that is available on our diocesan website, diocesesof trenton.org/natural-family-planning. Okay, thank you, everybody. Happy NFP week, and God bless you all.
Thank you.